Kelly Daniel. I'm with the Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce, but I'm really happy to be on the show today because I have a special guest, Kent Hutchison with CJ Baxter Group.
Yes.
And I will let you know right off the bat that Kent is loud and interactive.
That's right. That has been said before, that I'm loud and interactive. That's right.
And I know he does a lot in Nacogdoches
Yeah.
and beyond,
Right.
no doubt. In fact, you're kind of an ambassador for our town, I feel like.
Well, I appreciate that. I do a lot of work with lots of chambers of commerce around the country, and I do talk about our chamber of commerce and how we're the gold standard. And our hometown
Right.
is always the gold standard, especially being Nacogdoches Golden Dragons. We're the gold standard of Texas.
I like it. I might use that too. I'll
That's
just
right.
copy you on that.
That's fine. That's fine.
In fact, you have certainly helped the chamber as we work with our new leaders in the community, as we move forward with our new board of directors, things like that. You're personally involved with us.
Right.
But I know that you also just kind of have a passion for helping communities better themselves in a way.
It really is. It's about my dad. I say in East Texas, your dad. You always have to talk about a daddy story or a mama story. Well, my daddy taught me, and he really has taught my brothers and I, that we have an obligation to give back to our community. And you can define community as your church, your Boy Scout troop, your Girl Scout troop, or your actual community. But my dad said, he really instilled in me and my brothers the fact that we have an obligation to give back to our community. And so we have to decide that role. So I'm an advocate for that as well, the fact that we all have a responsibility to our local community, and we have to give back. And I think the Chamber of Commerce is one of those areas that I think is a lot of folks can look at and say, wow, I really can give back through our Chamber of Commerce and help grow the economy and grow our businesses in our community. And so it is a passion.
Very good, and I love that because I share that with you as well. And I know when you and I were talking about what we would think about for today,
Right.
We kind of have an idea of how anyone and everyone can be a customer service expert, or
Well, you're
what
right.
do you call it?
Well, here's I want to ask you a question, Kelly. I'm going to ask you a question. What message do you send when you create because customer service is something we talk about
Right.
all the time, and we talk about the fact that really, as Shakespeare says, it's observed more in the breach than in actually adherence to it. Because when we talk about customer service, a lot of times we think about the bad customer service experiences we had. We talk about going someplace and, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe how bad that service stinks.
Unfortunately, that's what some do talk about.
And that's what we talk about.
Yes,
We don't.
yes.
And unfortunately, we don't talk about that. So I'm going to ask you a question. What message does a small business owner or anybody, whether you're a dentist, a lawyer, or a retail shop, what message do you send when you create a satisfied customer? So think about that when you think.
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that pops in my mind is they enjoyed their experience with me.
Right. And I would say that's wrong.
Okay,
Well,
exactly.
exactly. As
Yeah.
we've talked about in the pre-state. Really, when you create a satisfied customer, you're saying that we're no better than the competition. Because when I go into a restaurant, whether it's a national chain, fast food chain, or if I go into a local restaurant, or I go into a national restaurant, I expect to be satisfied. And so I expect to get and I go to a hotel, I expect to get a clean room, I expect to have towels, I expect to be satisfied.
Right.
And so when we create satisfied customers, a lot of times we think, oh, we're telling them that we care. No, what you're saying really when you create a satisfied customer is we're no better than the restaurant down the road. We're no better than the retail store down the road. What you want to create is raving fans. You want to have them walk out of your store, walk out of your business, and say, "You're not going to believe the level of service. You're not going to believe what this organization did for me."
Well, and the good thing about that is it can apply to any business, any industry.
It really does. It doesn't matter if you're in a service business or if it's in a retail business, lodging business,
Manufacturing, working with vendors.
Bingo. It's you want to create raving fans. Now, I'd love to say I created this. It's actually based on a book by Shelton Bowles and Ken Blanchard. So it's a great book. I don't sell books. So I tell folks to go out there and buy their book at their favorite local bookstore.
Right,
And,
very good.
Chamber of Commerce bookstore
Shop
members.
NAC
That's
first, too.
right, exactly. Buy NAC. But in all honesty, the book is called Raving Fans, and it talks about this concept about you want to create raving fans. And in the book, he gives numbers of examples. Nordstrom's department store is one example he uses, and he tells a story about a customer coming in and looking for a product. They said, "We're all sold out. How long are you going to be in our store?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to be here I got to buy some other items." And he says, "Well, we know that a store on the other end of the mall has this item. We'll send someone down there. And he thought, oh yeah, great, they're going to charge me, for a delivery fee. No, it was part of their customer service. They wanted that customer to stay in their store, and if there was one item that they didn't have, they were going to go get. That was their way of creating a raving fan.
Got it.
There was a gas station. He uses an example that does full service gas station in Canada called Jump to the Pump. They've brought back the old fashioned full service gas station. So when you drive up, I mean, it's like a NASCAR. They come out and they're checking your tire pressure. They're popping the hood, checking the oil, and pumping your gas. What they've tried to do is, and they do that at self-service prices. And the whole idea is they're trying to create that service experience. So, hey, I can come and buy gasoline, and I get that service experience that I don't get anymore. And so it's about creating that raving fan experience. My wife and I experienced that raving fan experience in a local restaurant when our children were toddlers. And you know how toddlers are. They want to get into everything. We went into a restaurant, a local restaurant, and we went in and sat down. And I don't know if this waiter had training, proper training, or if they had a brother or sister that they understood. But he came in and he took care of us, took our order, but he took care of the children first. He brought their drinks out first. When he brought the food out, their plate, their macaroni and cheese, their $8 bowl of macaroni and cheese at every restaurant. They brought their macaroni and cheese, and it was hot. And instead of setting the plate in front of the child, he set the plate and says, "Hey, this is a little hot, but I wanted you to, I didn't want to put it on the front of the child." And it was little things. By making us happy and making the children happy, he made the customers sitting around us that didn't have toddlers very happy.
What a point.
Well, that's raving fan service. We
Yeah.
walked out of that restaurant going, wow. I mean, the experience, we had a good experience. The diners around us had a good experience.
Sure.
And so that's creating that raving fan experience. And there's some ideas behind that as well. There's 3 real basic steps of creating raving fan service that any business can create, whether you're an attorney, a professional service, an accounting firm, or retail. And really what you've got to start thinking about is you've got to think about your customers and think about how much. A lot of times we think of customers, whether it's manufacturing or whatever, of that transaction. Hey, I'm going to make $200 on this transaction. I'm going to make $500 on this transaction. And we think of it that way.
Sure.
What we should be thinking about is customers for a lifetime. How many times can I get Kelly Daniels to come into my retail store and purchase something? And if I satisfy her, that's great until she gets satisfied by somebody else, and then she's not going to come back to my store unless it's convenient for her. But if I create that raving fan experience, you're going to make an effort to come find me. There's a couple of restaurants in town. I'm thinking of one downtown, a great little place owned by Shelley Brophy. I love Shelley's. She creates a raving fan with me.
Right.
And so even if she has limited hours on days that it'd be more convenient for me, I still make an effort to utilize her store because I've created that raving fan experience. And that's what you want. You want someone that goes out there and advertises for you because you've had that experience. But so first you got to think about your customers and how much is the value of a customer for a lifetime. Once you do that, you start thinking about, because we think about selling products. We all think about selling, whether it's chamber memberships or whether it's training workshops. We all think about selling stuff, but that's because we've thought products and goods are sold.
That's how it's measured.
That's how it's measured. We
typically.
measure that. But really, what it is, it's not. It's about building a relationship with a customer. I shop at my local florist, not because of the wonderful, flowers. I can buy the same flowers at a national grocery store in town.
Right.
I can order them online. There's lots of. I go to my local florist because of the level of service I get, the attention to detail, how I get treated.
Very good.
And so
Yes.
that's why I shop local. But it's creating that raving fan service. And so what we've got to do, and it really is across the board, folks can start thinking about how do I create that? And you do that by 3 steps. And those 3 steps are, first, you've got to decide what you want. What business are you in? For example, you've got to decide before I can sell cheeseburgers, I've got to decide what does a cheeseburger look like. I've got to have a vision for myself. What business am I going to be in, and what level of service am I going to provide? Am I trying to provide a quick dry cleaning service, or am I trying to provide a more detailed VIP service
With alterations.
That's
and
right.
things like
I mean,
that.
it's all you have to decide what you want. The second step is discover what the customer wants. Now, here's where we get in trouble because we think that we have to be all things to all people, and we don't. Because who would think about designing a Lamborghini style Sportster with mud tires, with off-road type capability. I mean, it'd be ridiculous. But yet that's the way we treat customer service sometimes. We try to be all things to all people. It's okay to tell a customer, we don't do that. But here's where you go.
Right.
For example, let's use Sam's Warehouse. All
Okay.
right? If you want your groceries bagged, does Sam's bag your groceries? No, they don't. They have boxes and bags there. They don't
Right.
bag your. Basically, they're saying, if you want your groceries bagged, go somewhere else. We don't do that. There's Brookshire Brothers, a local business here. They have convenience stores. They have Conoco gas stations in front of the Brookshire Brothers. They don't have restrooms. They don't sell. There's certain. They don't have a convenience store. They're basically saying, if you want that experience, go somewhere else.
Right.
They have decided what their vision is. Mm-hmm. They discovered what the customer wants or the segment of customers they're after. And the last piece is deliver plus 1%. Deliver the vision. So you decide what you want, discover what the customer wants, and then you got to deliver that plus 1%. That's how you create that raving fan experience.
That's interesting. And as you're going over those, I'm thinking, I'm sure some of the viewers are business owners or in management positions, but an employee can also make a big difference.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's really kind of, I was reading a blog post preparing for today. I was reading another blog post this morning, and it was talking about customer service, and it says, we think about customer service being that transaction at that moment with the customer, but sometimes it may be even our internal policies and procedures. And it talks about communicating with our employees and communicating
Right.
throughout the entire organization about our mission and where we're going. The example he gives was using a national company where they have outsourcing, maybe their phone service or outsourcing their customer service, where they talk to a representative. The representative says, "Oh, go to your local bank branch and walk in, and they can take care of this." They walked in the local bank branch and said, "You need an appointment," and so there was so now the customer.
Right.
Has a negative.
It's off-putting.
That's off-putting.
Yeah.
They're thinking, I've made a trip down here, I've taken off work, and now you tell me I got to come back tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so it's internal communication as well. And so it goes back to just communicating. But it is something that can be developed. Small businesses can do that. Local businesses should do that if they want to be competitive in this global. Once again, I can order flowers off the internet, but I don't. I go to my local florist because of that raving fan experience, that vision plus one that I get.
It's also kind of a message there that every day is a new opportunity to get a new raving fan.
It really, and that's what you should be. I mean, every day you should go out there and say, okay, how do I create raving fans? Mm-hmm. And it's not a real simple, I've given you 3 simple steps, but really what it's about going in there and creating that experience so that when they walk out of there, they go, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe. And because with the internet right now, before the internet, people were upset, they might tell 6 to 9 people they were upset. If someone's upset now, they get on the internet and they can tell thousands of people.
We've seen it in action. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did it yesterday myself. I had a bad experience with idiot customers, not with a place of business. But did I complain about it? You better believe it. I posted it on Facebook and got lots of comments.
This is so interesting, and I could talk more about it because I see where it's at. It can be applied in every form of your life, in fact. But I do want to take just a few seconds so that you can tell folks a little bit more about CJ Baxter, where they can find more information.
One, they can go to cjbaxtergroup.com. They obviously can go to the chamber website. I'm a chamber member, and they can find me through there. That's a neat service.
Thank you.
But yes, we do employee development training. We do not only customer service, but we do a lot of trainings.
Wonderful. And we're so glad you were able to join us today.
Thank you.
And I'm really happy you tuned in today for Brick Street News. We'll see you again really soon.